Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the 9th podcast of the Techjaja Bits and Bytes show. And with me on the show, I'm joined by the techpreneur, Mr. Joseph Owino. Mr. Joseph Owino, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Robert.
How can someone out there know who Mr. Joseph Owino is?
Well, the people do know me for in different ways, but I would like to be known as an entrepreneur in technology, sports, and social media.
Sports and social media?
Yes.
What's the other way that people know you?
An alleged hacker.
Over.
Yeah. That's a story for another day, but...
could you break it down? What really happened, by the way? Does it have to be off the record?
Yeah, for another day, for several reasons. I've always decided to keep quiet on that matter for so many reasons, but the long and short of it was I got arrested for apparently hacking into the president's account, which I never did, but so... Yeah, anyway.
The story you didn't hack.
The long and short of it was there was no hacking, and I was exonerated, and it ended there. But yeah, I'll probably find a way to tell my story sometime.
Oh, waiting's taken too long, though.
It is.
Yeah, we'll kickstart with the show. So what was your most motivation to start Kawowo Sports? What's the founding story of Kawowo Sports?
Kawowo Sports was mainly because of the dearth in content for local sports in Uganda. We have so many of these stars, and at the same time you find us making a lot of noise about the foreign stars, the Wayne Rooneys, the Van Persies, the Serena Williams. But we have a lot of talented Ugandans who never get to be known. And so that was the real motivation behind forming Kawowo Sports, to give that extra content for the Ugandans. But Kawowo was really for me. Me as a consumer, me as someone who is very interested in local sport but did not have any avenue to consume it. So that's...
you had print media, a New Vision Online, Monitor.
Yeah, that brings me back to the beginning when I said there's this dearth. There's a match that happened on Saturday, and then I'm reading a match report on Monday. So that's a huge problem for me. That gap was too long for any proper sports fan. You do not want to wait for more than 24 hours to read about what happened.
It's actually been seconds now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did it start?
2011 was when I actually executed the idea. I'd always had it way back, 2009. By around 2009, I was developing a lot of websites for like sports and athletes. I did a website for David Obua, for Eugene Sebunya. All these were like established stars who could afford my fees. But one time I had a discussion with the local player from, then the club was called Bunamoya. Anyway. This player was like,
who is that? I'm a fan.
Sorry, I can't say his name. Okay. I'm not sure if he would authorize me to do that. But he had a discussion with me, and he wanted to go play outside Uganda. And he's saying, people do not know me, but I am a good footballer. So can you develop for me a website? But at the same time, this guy couldn't afford my fees. And then the numbers I'd allocated for pro bono work were really limited. So I had to decide on whether to do a free website for him or find another way to promote him. So that was the real catalyst. Behind me actually wanting to have content for myself as a sports fan, there was this actual need from an athlete who is asking me and saying, I need to be known. They are agents, but they have no information about me. So that's when I said, okay, I'll come and find a way to create profiles for you so that when someone goes online to search for player XYZ, they end up finding information about you that is portraying you in positive light.
So you started out with profiling and not real-time fixtures and match content?
Well, we just we dived straight into it and did everything. We said initially the idea was to just start doing profiles, but then we're like, let's do everything. This guy played a match. Let's do a match report. This guy did this. Let's do an interview with him. And so that's how we started, like, just attacking it from all angles.
I noticed you are pregnant with the idea for 2 years. You say 2009.
Yes.
So what was keeping you back from executing?
Well, Kawowo Sports really doesn't put food on my table, So it's like a plan. But even now, really, all the money I make on Kawowo Sports is to put it back in there, to hire new staff, to keep it going to a specific level, the vision that I have for it. So right now it is really milking away from all my other divisions. So at that point, the lag between 2009 and 11, I concentrated on doing projects that are bring money onto my pocket and doing other things, as opposed to doing this that I looked at more as a project that really needed my time and resources to execute.
Okay, I see. So I noticed you had kawowosports.com and then kawowosports.co.ug. Did you want one of the domain names to be for the global sports and the whole, Cristiano Ronaldo's, and the co.ug having the local content?
No, actually, all through the idea behind Kawowo Sports was to have local content, purely. We've never, it makes a lot of business sense to write about Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo, because if you know this, that in the web, in the digital world, you need more eyeballs, more clicks. If you have more traffic, then you can monetize that in easy way. And the most recognizable stars, if you can write about them, there are very high chances you'll get a lot more traffic from that. So from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense. But the idea behind Kawowo Sports was way different from that. And that's why the Kawowo.com was not really about international sports. And we've actually never done international sports. There was just one short period when we experimented, but we've always done local sport. So Kawowo.com was actually the first domain that we bought. And then later on, with the .co.ug coming on, we said, okay, let's have that identity for it. But of course, we later on scrapped it off. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Confused me at some point.
Yeah,
so you've talked about domains. What were your startup costs when you're starting?
Well, I'm in the business, so technically really no startup costs, because it's me. I do domain registrations and hosting, so I just chalked it up as a cost for Owino Solutions. In terms of the technical skill needed, I worked on it myself and together with my staff to build the website. So technically speaking, initially there were no costs. That of course there are costs that are always there. At the end of the day, you've paid a few dollars for the domain and the hosting and that kind of stuff. But in actual sense, there were no big costs apart from when I started now employing staff. I employed my first journalist to start writing
who are
content
the founding reporters with Kawowo Sports?
Kawowo Sports, the first and foremost person I approached was Philip Corey, who was by then contributing for New Vision and Sunrise and a few other publications.
I still remember him when I was a kid back. I think must have been like 8.
Yes.
I used to play in Kampala Kids League, and he used to report about the KK when I was still young.
Yes. In starting Kawowo Sports, I decided to say I needed someone with experience, someone with the knowledge and the know-how in the sports world, and so I brought in someone who I knew had a lot of knowledge in the local content.
And he's still with you, I guess?
Yes.
Seen him sometime.
Yes.
What's your hierarchy like at Kawowo Sport? The organogram, I noticed you hired lately new staff and your editors. What's your editorial structure?
Well, we've been hiring a lot of staff because we've been trying to expand on the content that we do. We've decided that we will do all sports in Uganda, everything that's local, and that requires us to have a lot of staff. So we've been hiring a lot of staff, and at some point we needed to structure that. And so what we did lately, I appointed Franklin Kaweru, who is our new editor, and also appointed Edgar Kaziwe, who is our deputy editor. So at the top of the chain, we have Franklin Kaweru and Edgar, who strategize for us, give us the path that we should follow. And then we have experts in different fields. We have Ismail Chionga, who is really, really knowledgeable about local football. Then we have a lot of people, whether it's motorsport, whether it is basketball, golf, for example. Phil knows in and out about golf. So we have those mini leaders in each and every sport, but then Franklin now leads us.
Brings me to a question I noticed. I visited Kawowo Sports ahead of this interview as a preamble, and I noticed golf is given prominence more than a lot of the other sports. For example, must be boxing, kickboxing, and we know, a lot of people out there really like the other sports besides golf. Do you have that much traction from golf?
Yes. One, we do have a specialist in golf, and that is Philip Corey. So we have a lot of content. We are able to produce content on a daily basis about golf throughout the country. So that is one strength that we have, that we never run out of golf content. Secondly, we really do have loyal fans. When we view the analytics, a lot of people are actually consuming this content. So that is a huge thing. But also in terms of our navigation, we keep modifying based on, for example, there is a big event that is going on. So we ensure that that information can be easily accessed at that particular point of time. So today, if, for example, like now we are hosting the volleyball qualifiers for All Africa Games, it's imperative that we have that information easily accessible.
Give it more prominence.
As swift as possible. So we keep playing around, viewing the analytics and seeing what the people use.
Well, I see you always gearing out to learn a few things about your users.
Yes.
So how did you learn all this stuff?
I'm self-taught. Many people actually do not know this, but I do web design and development and all this kind of stuff. But all my knowledge is in mainly two forms. Either I've picked it up from a friend, who told me, a friend teaching me, like, I wanted to find out something, and then I come to you and say, how do I do this? Or I've got myself onto a forum on the internet, watched a tutorial and done something. So that sums up all my knowledge. I'm not formally trained in technology.
So when did you start this training?
Well, my first... I
know it's always a process.
Yes, actually. But my first interaction with the internet was when I opened a Yahoo email address. I don't remember the exact time, but I was in Mbale and I was in high school. We had these Swedish volunteers who kept sending back emails to their family, telling them about the fun they're having in Uganda and sending in photos. So I told one of them, I want to open an email address and do exactly what you're doing. So they took me to this cafe. By then, internet was really expensive. You needed about between 500 to 1,000 shillings per minute.
Per minute?
Yes.
Oh, goddamn.
Yes, you need about 500 to 1,000 shillings per minute, and there are only 3 computers connected in the library in Mbale. That was where I went in there, and the lady opened the sign-up page for Yahoo and said, put your name. So that is my first interaction with a computer, and they tell me to type my name, and I use one finger and press the O. I end up writing about 23 O's instead of just one. And they're like, whoa, chill. You just need to press it once,
Which year was you were saying?
I don't remember the exact particular time, but I was a kid. Yeah. Maybe 2001, 2000, I don't know, something like that.
I got my first email, I think, in 2003 as well. And
yeah, but that was way earlier, because actually by 2002 things were easier, because by 2002 I was running an internet cafe, and it became one of the biggest. The entrepreneur set up one of the biggest cafes in Eastern region with several computers, and the cost was brought down. Yeah,
because 500 per minute was really very expensive.
Yeah, that was
prohibitive.
Yes, because they used to use UTL dial-up connections. I still have that vivid sound when a client comes, when you start that sound, like trying to connect dial-up connection. So the cost was really high. Yeah, and also, business, if you have more numbers, then you can bring down the cost. But you all have 3 computers. You can't have the cost high.
Probably it was a library, so I guess it was paid for by some NGO or something like that.
Actually, I don't know the mechanics, but I know for a fact that these guys had to like have costs, and even if someone buys for you a computer, you still have to pay the monthly bills for internet, and internet has always been expensive earlier on.
Right. So have you worked under anyone before?
Yes, I have.
I saw you've been working since 2008. Probably that's when you finished school.
2008, I was still in campus when I started Owino Solutions. But before then, I've always worked under people, and that is how I've learned to do a lot of things, and how I've picked a lot of lessons from people who have run businesses, and that's now what I implement in my business. I told you earlier on, when I was a kid, I worked in an internet cafe where I was the systems administrator while I was still in high school. So I mixed education and work. So that is the cafe. I was working under someone. Then I was a teacher. I was a computer instructor when I was in campus. And then after campus, when I was still in campus, and even when I had opened Owino Solutions, I got a job, and I worked with a company called Service Corps. By then, value-added services via SMS was a huge deal, sending bulk SMS, mass, and all that. So I was hired to set up a company of that sort. So I set up that company, started from the way down as the first pioneer employee, the single employee, to a point where Service Corps could hire thousands of people, and I was made by the time I left that company, I was the CTO.
Well, he did all this without a bachelor's degree in computer science, IT, software.
You do not need to have of course there is that advantage that you have when you go to school and have that formal education, but with enough determination, with enough hard work, you can learn a lot of stuff. As long as you can access that knowledge, you can learn a lot of stuff. Yes, so all that I was doing, without the formal training, but I relied a lot on friends, people who know more than I do, and up to now I have a lot of friends who are geniuses, and I keep consulting with them to learn ideas here and there.
So what would you say was your best learning resource on online? Which forum are you using to get all this information?
I wouldn't pinpoint. I wouldn't pinpoint one particular one, but I know for a fact the way I approached it was case by case. Today I need to learn about this to execute my job. Then I do that. At Service Corps, we were doing a lot of things because the company grew from just sending SMSs to even they opened a call center, and I was in charge of that. So at now one point I need to learn about E1s, and I need to learn about how the calls come in, how to manage that, how to move this and that. So it was case by case. I now need to learn about this. Who are the guys who know about it? I have a friend who up to now still trains me. It's called Daniel Mpumwirwe. He's a genius in networking. And so whenever I need anything to do with networking, I go to him, and he sends me to the right place. If he doesn't have the time, he will say, go read about this particular thing, and you'll crack it.
Right, so we've got a resource now. I noticed you worked with Service Corps. And from your background, you also started a vast company, I think it's called Owino SMS.
Yes.
In that line. So was the inspiration from your previous company you worked with, or these guys scouted after they heard about Owino SMS?
No, actually, I would technically say Owino SMS started earlier, because it's the actual thing that I executed at Service Corps at the beginning. I was hired to build a company, and I built it and around SMS. So in the process of learning a lot of things about how SMS works, short codes, and how people rely on content, and so all that I learned, and then when I moved, I set up my own division as well, because remember, my main work was on the web development and web services, but then I brought in another division as well, which was Owino SMS.
All this was self-taught?
Yes.
Because that's not basic stuff.
Yes, I think self-taught is a little bit misleading, because self-taught would mean I taught myself, but technically there are people teaching me, my friends, people who know more than me, and the internet people, because on the internet, that's why I really love sharing content. When you share content, you're touching a lot of people online there. When you send a tutorial online, then there are many people who are going to read about it. So much as I'm saying, yes, I'm self-taught, but the actual fact is, in the background, there are people who are teaching you how to do this. Your friends, the guy who wrote that tutorial, the guy who explained this thing in the forum, all those.
Okay. Normally, self-taught means not school bred, like you don't learn these things in school in your computer science degree. This was the context in which I was asking you. And I found maybe someone listening out there may need to know some of these sites where you can learn a few of these things. Look out lynda.com. They have very good video material. Look out ProSite. They have very good material. Those two websites are like, there's so many, of course, plus open course where you can attend a whole university online. You can attend MIT, every single course. You need to even do the coursework of Coursera and so many other platforms. Yeah, this brings me to the other question. We're back to Kawowo now. You seem to... Oh, I didn't ask, actually. What was the inspiration behind the Kawowo name?
Oh, the name. Well, the name. Kawowo is a popular slang in football. When you watch Barcelona playing, when you watch Arsenal playing, there is the beautiful game. You know, the Spaniards call it tiki-taka, and we actually could refer to that as yes, we refer to that as Kawowo. When there is the beautiful match that the ball is moving in a very beautiful way. So that is what we normally refer to as Kawowo. When I was deciding the name for Kawowo Sports, I wanted to have a name that resonates with the fan. The name that guy understands. You tell a normal football fan that this Uganda Cranes played Kawowo today, they will understand it. So that was the idea behind the name. I wanted to connect with the user, because of course I would have just ended up ugandasports.com, ugandafootball.com, you know, but that is so boring. Yeah.
All right, good to hear, Kawowo. I hope we shall also rename Techjaja to techkawowo.com. Oh, good to hear. So you seem to be on top of the pops when it comes to search engine traffic optimization. What do you guys at Kawowo do right? The geeks out there would love to know.
Well, those are now the guys at Owino Solutions. The guys at Kawowo, their main work is just content. They pump out content. There's this volleyball game, there's this golf tournament, there's this football match. They pump out content, which helps. But on the back end, the guys at Owino Solutions really value a lot of search engine optimization to understand how people get content. And it's imperative that we get to know how do people consume this information, how do people seek information about the Uganda Cranes, about about Golola Moses, for example. So the key in doing that is ensuring that we have the proper search engine optimization to capture the audience whenever they seek information.
So how many articles do you pump out on a daily? You seem to... Well,
we are not actually happy with the amount of content that we publish at the moment. It is something that we want to work. I want to reach a point where we are releasing 50 stories every single day.
Is that Ugandan humanly possible?
Yes, it is possible because there is a lot of content. When you look at international content, there is a lot of information that is sent out every single hour. And we have that information. The Fiona Mutesi, or Golola Moses, or this
Philip
Flavia, yes, all these guys, they have information. We are not doing it. The way I see it is that we are scratching like 5% of the potential of what needs to be done. Yes.
Well, good to hear. I hope you get to publish 50 stories on a day.
And even go more, because we want to ensure that each and every story is told. Every single day we have people telling us, you guys, we need a profile about this. We need there's this Ugandan who is doing this. There's this Ugandan, and they're not known. Every single day people who seek information, they end up contacting us. They send us emails and say, guys, I'm looking for information about this athlete. I can't find it. Can you help me? And it's like, yeah, we're actually working on a profile for that person. Here's the link. You know, yeah.
Oh, thanks for... I've found a lot of very useful information on Kawowo Sports. I found a lot of stuff on my stars. When I was growing up, I grew up in a footballing family, but the stars I really looked up to, Philip Sozi, Hassan Mobiru, and I found very great stories that I could relate to. It feels so good when you really read them out, and they're well profiled.
And you realize that we are coming in late. This information should have been done earlier on. Yes. There are so many stars, the Majid Musisis. People right now do not appreciate Majid Musisi. Why? Because that information was not documented. And we want to do that for this generation. Kip Siros is doing there. Kip Rotich is doing a great job. And the guy has won 2 medals on a bounce, and something we had last done in 1978. But you find all our previous stars, Akibua. Look for information about Akibua, about Philip Omondi. There is no information about these guys, and that is really, really what bothers me. And that's why we say, starting with this generation, we won't produce the content.
You, at one time, think you'll experiment on video as well? Because it would really be great to see those Philip Sozi,
Yes.
free kicks, corners, headers, and all stuff.
Yes. We want to do all through. We want to do across the board a lot of stuff, and that involves us going through a lot of multimedia and video content and all that kind of stuff. But you'll appreciate that we have to follow, because of minimal resources, we have to follow a certain path of growth.
Okay. Yeah, from your experience as someone who has run this kind of website before, what do Ugandans love? Which kind of content do Ugandans love? Do they love long-form content? Do they love a kiss, keep it simple, short, miniskirt content?
I would say both. There is no proper variation, because we've done content of both sorts. We've produced content that is long and short, but I would say mostly they want to have short content. Not really super short, but medium content. That's what mostly they want. But once in a while,
put the skirt a little above the knees.
Yeah. But once in a while, they do want content that is exhaustive, but on only subjects that are huge. You can't write about Fimbo, Andrew Mukasa, and then write a short story.
True.
So when you have those kind of features, they need the long stories.
Okay, so we're gearing towards the end of the show, and I would love to ask a few questions. What are the future aspirations for Kawowo Sports?
Kawowo Sports, we've been trying to structure it in a way that we can do a lot of content. We want to be able to touch each and every athlete. We want to be able to reach each and every sports fan. So the plan is to ensure that we can reach as many people as possible, to access us on all available platforms, and then ensure that we have this content. So we want to be able, in Gulu, when there is rugby, it should be up. When there is some football going on in Buikwe, we need that up. So the plan is to have as much content as possible and promote as many stars, make a lot of our athletes stars.
So how are you going to do this? Are you planning to also allow guest bloggers from those places? For example, sports is one of the things that really happen on a daily. There's sports in Jinja right now. Some, I don't know how they call it that side, probably rugby or football, bikabia, biaba, soga, whatever it could be. Do you at some point, do you think your platform will allow such guest bloggers to put up content that your team can vet and put it out there and try to report according to those regions? Because that's a very huge task that even a mainstream website can't really do. Rather, print media can't really do if you don't crowdsource the information.
We're already doing that. We have an op-ed column, so a lot of people submit op-eds to us, and content that is not really authored by our staff, but they do produce this content, their opinions. We already have that, and we receive it. The challenge with Ugandan content, rather local content, is that there is no foundation. That is always the biggest thing with local content. And this cuts across the board. Even if you were to start today a fashion platform, even if you are doing technology, even if you are doing agriculture and all that kind of stuff, there is no foundation, there is no background, no starting point for you. And that is why it is very difficult to get this information across the board.
So is that the main challenge?
Yes, that is the main challenge. And we fix that by giving the starting point. Because someone may want to write about Fimbo, but they have no statistics. They have no data to start with. So someone backs away. But if you can provide that data, then it will be easy for them to do it.
Yeah. Do you think at some point you'll dig up and have another platform which is not Kawowo Sports, but something that you can help the federations, the different federations, not just FUFA but FUBA, and have those stats out for them?
Yes, in Kawowo Sports, that's what we want to do. We want to produce as much content as possible, and that content involves even statistics, a lot of data, whether it's current or old or previous history and all that kind of stuff. So yes.
So what are the aspirations for Owino or Owino Solutions? I'm sure those are two different individuals.
Yeah.
There are plans
Owino and Owino Solutions, yes. Owino Solutions, the plan is I really have a passion for content. I want to help as much as possible to produce a lot of content that is for us, a content that makes sense to us, and because there's a lot of as internet penetration is increasing, as many and many people have mobile devices and people are connected to the internet, they are consuming information. Where is this information coming from? Are they consuming information from the States, from Europe? That's a problem, and I want to fix that by ensuring that when new users start using the internet, let them find something Ugandan.
Okay, this is our last question for the day. For the users, viewers out there, listeners rather, what kind of content? How can they make money off their websites?
Well, the industry is growing. The digital world is improving. So one of the key ways on which you can make money is produce the content. Produce relevant content. Produce content that is helpful to Ugandans. If you're a medical doctor, produce that content. Teach people how to stay away from Ebola, teach people how to avoid cholera, teach people how to deal with typhoid. That information is being actively sought. And let no one lie to you that, people need international information. People actually need this local information that is relevant to them. So the first thing, produce that content, then think about the monetization later on.
Yeah, let's talk about the monetization. How can you make money off your website?
Well, the straightforward way to make money out of your content is to get advertisers to come on board. But you can also sell that content as well, whether through different mobile devices like via SMS, or you can actually sell to people who need that particular content. If you produce great content about Ebola, I'm sure one of the UN agencies will want to pay you for that content so that it reaches a wider market. So there are several ways to monetize. I'm happy to discuss with anyone about how I can help to monetize your content. But the straightforward way is to have the ads, have banners in there. Whether it's Google AdSense or whether it is Airtel putting an advert on your website, that's possible. But you can also sell the content to other people. Even people who consume this content, they can buy it. So there are so many different ways you can monetize. Of course, time may not allow me to go deep into it, but I'm very happy. Reach out to me on Twitter or on my website, and I can be able to.
What's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter is @JosephOwino.
At Joseph Owino.
Yes.
What about on the Facebook streets?
My Facebook is also Joseph Owino. But the best way to reach to me is via email from my website or via Twitter. That one is quite easy for me.
All right. You can catch me at Rob Sebunya on Twitter and Sebunya.Robert on Facebook. Thanks for listening in today, and catch you on the next podcast.